The San Francisco 49ers escape MetLife in New York with a W, 34-24, but do not escape with their health. All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Behind the Back podcast, 49ers post-game edition. I'm your host, Ben the Jet Retz. Guys, 49ers found a way to win again, shorthanded, in week 9 of the NFL season. We're officially halfway through the season. And look, the story for this team all season long has been the injuries. This is the most banged up team in football. You know, I leaned on Marcos a lot this week because Marcos knew this Giants team. He knows it far too well. This Giants team had a lot of holes in it. This Giants team had a lot of places where you could really, exploit them. And I thought this is a good opportunity. We both thought this is a good opportunity for them to really get it going on the ground, the 49ers. And all in all, they did all that. And I'm going to break all that down. But my biggest key that I was talking about going into this game was just get out of MetLife healthy. We've seen guys from our team go down before on MetLife with season-ending injuries. Key ones. And that was my biggest concern. We've already got so many guys out. You add on Nick Bosa, you add on Fred Warner, right? You add on these guys who are already on a defensive line now who you're just so banged up. You don't know who's stepping up from week to week. Well, let's start with the injury. Mykel Williams sustained what looks to be probably a serious knee injury against the New York Giants. And it was so close, guys. We were right there. It was the fourth quarter. You almost escaped relatively healthy. Couple nicks and bruises throughout this game. A couple guys coming off, but then going back on, like Upton Stout. They said he had a concussion at one point, but then was right back out there. He made a play. Like, you were minutes away from escaping MetLife without any injuries. And Mykel Williams goes down, reeling in pain, ends up walking off, but he's just devastated in the tunnel. And Jennifer Lee Chan reported on that, saying that, it didn't look good. He was obviously emotional. He's upset about it. He had a towel over his head. It's demoralizing when you go into these stadiums, you go into these games, you find a way to win. With all these pieces missing already, you've got to scheme it up perfectly. You've got to play a really good game. Again, you have a little more leeway against a team like the New York Giants, who are also dealing with a lot of key injuries. But you know that, you've still got to go out there and prove yourself as a ball club. And they did that, and they were so close to finding a way to get out of there relatively healthy, if not completely healthy, and it just didn't happen. So Shanahan is worried. He went to the podium right after the game and said he's worried that it's a knee injury. I can't rule anything right now. Imaging will tell us all we need to know tomorrow or Tuesday. So, dude, I mean, this defensive line is just toast. Absolutely toast. Keep an eye, trade deadline is Tuesday. Keep an eye on Trey Hendrickson. That's a name who's been floating around. Originally, kind of not really offered. The Bengals weren't really listening to many offers for him. But then it was reported that Jay Glazer, he's NFL insider on Fox NFL, he reported that the Bengals are now officially listening to offers. And one of the teams who are expected to be one of the more aggressive teams in the NFL by this deadline is the 49ers at this deadline. And a great question you can kind of, ask yourself and see kind of how this 49ers team addresses it is now with this injury to Mykel Williams, do they get more aggressive or do you say throw the towel in? I don't think you throw the towel in. You've proved you're a playoff team even after all of these injuries. And like I said, you get some of these key guys back who haven't sustained season-ending injuries. You're going to get some of that health back if you can just find ways to plug some of the holes and get you there. So now you look at a situation like this Trey Hendrickson out in Cincinnati and you're like, does that make sense? Even if he's, half your rental, because odds are you're not going to have him after that next year. And obviously the price depends whether it's the right situation or right move to make or not. I think there's going to be a really high asking price for Trey Hendrickson, and I don't think it's going to be worth it considering you're probably not going to have him after this year. So you want to leverage your future to what you want to do currently. And you got to, kind of ask yourself the question. It's like, how much of a hit, how much of a swing do we want to take at this come the trade deadline and leveraging our future? So some things to watch out for. But let's get into the first half real quick. Some positives. After the first drive, the Niners defense woke up and tightened up. Offense was finding success on the ground, and it opened up the pass game as well. 49ers defensive line was stopping runs well and getting pressure to Jaxson Dart. They pushed the lead to 10 with 2 minutes left in the half. 3 and out the Giants to get the ball back with 38 seconds left. But then one of the only negatives of that first half happens, and that's Mac Jones getting hit on his backside mid-throw. It was ruled a fumble, recovered in the air by Abdul Carter, and that sets up a field goal position already for the Giants again with that 30 seconds left. But then one last little positive before the break, that 49ers defense not allowing any yards after that takeaway to that New York Giants offense. And so they're forced to kick the field goal. They completely missed the field goal. So while a mistake at the very end, it didn't prove to be costly in any way. Whether the 49ers would have gone down the field there and gotten points up, that's left to be said. There's a whole lot of what ifs, right? So nonetheless, you were able to defensively find a way to tighten up after that first drive. The Giants, they had a great first drive. It looked a lot like a continuation of what we saw against the Texans from last week. But the defense responded really well in that first half after that first drive and found ways to get timely stops. Now, injuries in the first half, the only one that you kind of kept an eye on initially was Mac Jones. He gets sacked. He gets hit in the nose. And you see immediately just blood kind of pouring out of his nose. I was thinking, like, is it broken? He continued, obviously finished out the game. I don't think it was much of an issue. You just saw him plugging it throughout the rest of the game. But overall, you're relatively healthy. That was all you could ask for. Just a quick breakdown of the offensive stats between the two teams. So the 49ers had 61 rushing yards to the New York Giants 38. They had 129 pass yards to New York 60. 190 total yards to the Giants 98. So they were owning them offensively, defensively, like I said, tightening up and not allowing the Giants to do a ton. And as far as first downs, the 49ers had 12 of them in the first half to the New York Giants 6. So time of possession was still relatively the same. The 49ers had about 16 minutes, the Giants had 13, but 49ers definitely owning that first half. Going into the second half, and really where I want to talk about this game is actually in the fourth quarter. Now, you had guys throughout the entire game making great plays. You had Upton having a great, few tackles, early tackle. Tatum Bethune plugging holes and tackling well. We'll talk about him in a few minutes. CMC, 100-plus all-purpose yards to start the fourth quarter. And then in that fourth quarter, another big catch and run as a response drive to a Giants touchdown. He had finished 2 touchdowns, 1 through the air, 1 rushing. George Kittle, a couple big catches. Brian Robinson, bruising runs and first TD as a 49er. Jair Brown, big pass breakup in the fourth quarter in the end zone. Didn't result in too much. It ended up being a touchdown later anyway, that drive. But Mustafa, a timely tackle near the goal line, holding the Giants to a 3. So, guys were making an impact. But this fourth quarter, defensively, now, maybe it was because of fatigue, but defensively, the 49ers were struggling to stop the up-tempo Giants offense. And we've seen this before from a 49ers defense, both under Saleh and outside of it as well. We've seen this team struggle to really stop and figure out an up-tempo offense. And you've seen it a few times this year. You saw it even against a team in Jacksonville early on in the season when they went up-tempo a couple times. And in the fourth quarter, the Giants went up-tempo twice on 2 different drives, and they scored touchdowns on both of those drives. So you wanted to see a little bit better of, coverage, and you wanted to see better play calling and better execution down the stretch in that fourth quarter, and especially against that up-tempo offense. But look, man, hats off to Jaxson Dart. As a rookie and stepping in week 3 or 4, he's looking really good. He's looking like everything that the Giants are going to want him to be as their franchise player. When we do the quarterback comparison in this game, Jaxson Dart finished 24 of 33 through the air, 72% completion. He had 191 pass yards, 5.8 attempts, yards per attempt. He took 2 sacks, but he had 107 rating. And looking at Mac Jones, he had 135 rating with 2 sacks as well, averaging almost 10 yards per attempt, 235 pass yards, almost 80% completion on 19 of 24 through the air. So, Mac was the better quarterback, but he's also the veteran quarterback. He's in the better system, who has better weapons. Keep in mind, the Giants didn't have Scattaboo. They didn't have Malik Neighbors, and offensive linemen. They had dudes out, offensively and defensively especially. But, his main weapons weren't in the game. Jaxson Darts weren't in the game. So he was able to still go out there, make plays, hit a couple of good plays with his legs, puts his body in harm's way a little more often than you want to see your franchise quarterback do. But, he was out there making plays. And that's, from the Giants side of things, that's what they want to see. Whether they're winning games right now or losing games, you can pretty much chalk their season up at this point, especially with how much injuries they have and so on and so forth. They haven't been able to stay competitive necessarily. But this team is going to be something with Jaxson Dart in the future as they get their weapons back from injury and from trades and so on and drafts and so, etc. So this Giants team, while broken and battered and not that great right now, found a lot of ways to kind of build on themselves this week especially. So Jaxson Dart played a really good game. But Mac Jones, this is probably Mac's last game starting, at least right now in this window. Who knows what the rest of the season looks like. But started 7 games for the 49ers throughout this year while Brock Purdy has been rehabbing that toe. And he's been fantastic, man. Mac has stepped into this role extremely well. He has been poised. He's been executing extremely well. He is just, everything is advertised as a guy who wanted to come to a team who was full of winners, full of guys who, actually would take his play to the next level. This is what Mac Jones was going to be when he was drafted. This was, when the Patriots drafted him, this was the eyes, this was the look that he was giving franchises and especially, New England. It was like, this is the guy, right? They kind of gave up on him. It didn't work. That plan didn't work out. They didn't put the right pieces around him necessarily. Lo and behold, under the 49ers, he's secured himself a starting role probably here in the next year or two on another team, most likely. So I just love what I've seen from Mac Jones. And to kind of move into the game balls here, Mac Jones is going to get my game ball for this one. He did extremely well. Like I said, he was consistent through the air. I don't pin that fumble on him, that strip sack fumble on him. I think that was backdoor. It's Brian Burns, dude. He's a beast. He's another beast as well. They've got so many pieces. It's just a matter of putting them together. So love what I saw from Mac, and just a fantastic job filling in for Brock Purdy in his absence. Second game ball is going to go to Christian McCaffrey. Where would the 49ers be without Christian McCaffrey? He has been Mr. Consistent this season. Some crazy history. Christian McCaffrey is one of 2 of the fastest running backs to 500 and 500, both rushing and receiving, yards in a season this century. The other is Marshall Faulk of 2000, year 2000. So that's unique company. And already he has punched himself in as really a Hall of Fame player. At some point he'll get that Hall of Fame jacket, and he absolutely deserves it. He's a fantastic player. He is so unique in the way he impacts the game in so many different ways, and just being a consistent piece for this 49ers team this year. Before the year, if you told me Christian McCaffrey was going to be the guy who's the healthiest, who's being the most productive throughout, this entire season and being as healthy as can be, I don't think I would have laughed at you, but I wouldn't have believed you. Simply put, right? Based on how last year went. So love what I'm seeing from Christian McCaffrey. Now, Tatum Bethune stepped up extremely well in Fred's absence this week. He had 16 tackles, 8 solo and 8 assisted, 1 pass defended. I mean, he was Fred Warner today. He did Fred Warner things. I mean, that is a stat sheet of Fred Warner right there. So, love what I saw from Tatum Bethune. Like I said, I mean, he's stepped up extremely well. He was going to be the guy who was expected to step up extremely well. D. Winters also has stepped up in good ways too, but, Tatum in this game just being a pinnacle of that defense. So, overall takeaways. It was a good win. The 49ers have, at this point, kind of proved to me that not necessarily whoever they put on the field, but you get the sense of whoever's out there on the field, the 49ers are going to give themselves a chance to win. And they're going to give themselves a chance to be a playoff team. And, this is kind of an exceptional run from this 49ers team to put themselves in the shoes that they are, considering they're one of the more historically banged up teams this season and so on. But if we're talking just this season, this is one of the most banged up teams in NFL history. And they're finding ways to win. Yeah, they're playing some easier opponents, but nonetheless, their opponents are more healthy than the 49ers are. And the 49ers have consistently found ways to win. So they're doing a little bit of a back and forth right now. You got a win, loss, win, loss, win. But just to be able to stack wins when you can, give yourself a little bit of a cushion. You play the Los Angeles Rams in your house in Levi's Stadium next week, next Sunday. So, you have a little bit of a cushion going into that. And what did you do in the first, 5 weeks of the season? You beat all of your divisional opponents. And that's, again, more of a cushion for yourself down the stretch. You're getting Ricky Pearsall back. You're getting Brandon Ayuk back. You're going to get some of these defensive linemen back. You're going to get some of these pieces back. Who knows what the trade deadline looks like? Like, this team has a potential to go on a bit of a run here after you play your divisional, opponent here in the Los Angeles Rams. Then you play the Cardinals. Then you play, a couple other teams that are just, they're not winning games right now. And that was kind of what the schedule was going to be. You knew this was the 49ers' easiest schedule that they've seen in a long time. This was the dubbed easiest schedule of the season going into it. And it's kind of like one of those situations you just play who's in front of you. It's also a product of the 49ers winning 6 games last year. They've already matched their total win from last year this year. They've got 6 wins already. So they're 6-3. I like what I'm seeing from this 49ers team. Kyle Shanahan is extremely brilliant. Robert Saleh has been able to dial up scheme from a pass rush perspective and be able to kind of fill the holes as many as he has. He has more holes than Shanahan has to fill with the offense. And I think that defensively, just in this game, Jaxson Dart is a unique player. He's a special player. He can make plays. They still had playmakers out there. Singletary gave us a little bit of a hassle today as well. So, nonetheless, Robert Saleh able to figure out a scheme that works against this team. So, love what I saw from this team today. But, man, it just sucks because I'd be so much happier with this win if Mykel Williams didn't go down. And you expect it to be the worst at this point based on how the season's gone, based on just kind of how Mykel looked after the injury happened. It's tough, man. It really is. It's tough to see, especially from Mykel, who had this awesome opportunity to really step in and get some huge experience down the stretch here with a broken and battered defensive line. He'd be seeing a lot more run. And as a rookie now, to just have this injury setback a bit, I have full faith he'll come back stronger than he was before. But it's tough, man. And it's one more injury. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys for checking in and listening to the 49ers post game from the BTB podcast. Guys, give us a like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you guys thought of this game. What do you think of this injury woes? I mean, will it get better? I mean, this is getting outrageous at this point. But we appreciate you guys as always for listening. Marcos and I will be back this Thursday to talk a little bit more football, of course, and we'll be talking about our Sacramento Kings. The Sacramento Kings got a pretty big win against the Milwaukee Bucks. And I was pretty hyped about it. I love what I saw from Russell Westbrook. Love what I saw from Zach LaVine. Marcos had his opinions. And let's just say, again, we're just not on the same page necessarily. So we'll have a little bit more to talk about, guys. But as always, I appreciate you guys. You can hit us up at behindthebackpod13@gmail.com. All the links to our socials are down below, guys. 49ers, bang, bang. We found another win. But man, we are banged up. Let's keep an eye on that trade deadline Tuesday. I'll see you soon. Benny the Jet. Peace.